tuned into another episode of Wait A Gam Minute podcast. I am Gam. And y'all, first of all, my co-host is not here again. I think we're going to have to find somebody else because she's here, but she's working behind the scenes because she has somewhere to go, something to do. So I guess what she's doing is more important than sitting here on Wait A Gam Minute today. So I want to apologize for her absence. Well, a little bit absent. She's here but not here. Miss Tracy. Do you accept my apology?
I do.
Thank you. See, now we got it all squared away. So, y'all, today we got a special guest this evening. Miss Tracy, please introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners of Wait A Gam Minute.
My name is Tracey Holmes, and I just came out today to share a little bit of my story. I also had the pleasure of doing the Scared Straight program for Travail. And I really enjoyed it. You know, it was a lot of insight, and I learned a lot myself just being there, you know, listening to the other sponsors or whatever. I had the pleasure today, I went to the school to pick up my grandson, and it was one of the little girls that was at the Scared Straight program. Before I could even step in the door good, she raised her hand and she was like, hey, I know you. And I couldn't figure out where she knew me from. And I was like, where did you know me? She was like, I remember you from the Scared Straight program. And it really just touched my heart.
Right.
Because, you know, you hope they listening. Mm-hmm. You want them to listen, but you just don't know. And that let me know that she was listening to me. And it just made me feel good. It warmed my heart that she was listening.
Right. Well, it made me feel good just listening to you. I know you told us prior to coming on. But just piggyback off of what you just said, it makes me feel good too. It makes all of us feel good that they were that attentive because you like you said, you don't know if they're listening.
Right.
So with her listening, then actually paying attention to who was there because we had quite a few, quite a few. What do we call them? Panelists.
Yes.
I don't know why I had a brain fart. Panelists there, so for her to recognize you, it was awesome.
Yes.
So let us know that to keep doing what we're doing.
That's right.
So are you from Suffolk?
I am. I was born and raised in Boston.
Okay, gotcha.
I was born and raised in Boston. My mom, she was from Williamstown.
Okay.
But when I was 6 months old, my dad took me to his grandmother, which was my great-grandmother. Mm-hmm. And I stayed there until the age of 14 until she passed away.
Oh, wow. Okay. So tell us a little bit about who Miss Tracy was growing up.
Who Miss Tracy was growing up? I was happy. Mm-hmm. I was very happy. I was raised by my great-grandmother and my uncle. I was the only kid in the house for a long time. I was able to visit with my brothers and sisters, and vice versa. They were able to come and visit with me because they was right in the next neighborhood.
Okay.
But it was like being an only child. Mm-hmm. You know, my grandmother, she taught me a lot. There was no smoking, no drinking, no cursing. We went to church on a regular, and I was able to be a child. Like when the summertime came, we did summer things. We went to the beach. We took trips. We went to King's Dominion. We went to Busch Gardens. So I grew up being a child. Okay. You know, I know what it was like to be a child and do children things and enjoy being a child.
Being a child, right? Yeah. So now your grandmother died at 14, and then there was like a big transition for you, right? So what actually happened to you when she passed? So
in those years, my mom had moved away from Suffolk and moved to Newport News. So my transition was I left Suffolk and I went to live with her. It was different.
Sure
it was different because it was 7 of us.
Okay.
But there was another sister that lived with someone else. You know, but we all kept in contact.
So it was 8 of you guys?
No, it was 7.
Oh, 7. Yeah.
But
okay.
She had 7. Okay. Being in the home with other kids, you know, I knew they were my brothers and sisters. We were in contact. It's not like we didn't know who each other was. Mm-hmm. But, you know, just to be in the home with more kids, you know, right. That, you know, the attention that I would get when I was with my grandmother, you know, my mother, she had to make her attention, she had to share her attention amongst all of us.
Everybody,
you know.
Right.
I enjoyed being there with my brothers and sisters, you know. It was fun. You know, we all was close, we all got along. You know, we had the little sibling rivalries like every now and then, you know. But I was always one of the ones, I never had arguments with my brothers and sisters.
Oh, that's good.
I never had arguments with them. You know, I got along with all of my brothers and sisters very well.
That's good. That's good. So, okay, so let's speed it up a little bit. Okay, so you were living with your grandmother, and then you transitioned to living to Newport News, which I'm sure was a culture shock, because even back then, not telling your age or anything, like, not like I even know your age, but I just know that it was a different era. You know what I'm saying? So, coming from Suffolk, going to Newport News is like, oh man, like, it had to been a big shock, because things were moving slower back then, you know what I'm saying, to now. But I'll tell you to say this. You became an adult, and then you had your first child at what age?
18.
18, okay. So how many kids do you have?
I have 3 daughters.
3 daughters. Any grandkids?
Yes. One daughter I have a 37-year-old daughter. She has no kids.
Okay.
I have a 30-year-old daughter. She has 4 and one on the way.
Okay.
And then I have a 29-year-old daughter that has 2.
Okay.
So I'm going to have 7, but right now I have 6.
Yeah. Okay. Right now you got 6 pack.
Yeah.
6 pieces of naked.
Yeah. And I love each and every one of them.
I'm sure. Now, let me ask you this. Now, is the love that you have for your kids different than the love that you have for your grandkids?
Oh, most definitely.
Why, though? Because I always hear that, but I'm trying to figure out why.
Do you know how many times I've been told, well, where was the McDonald's money at when we was growing up? You know, I hear that. Right. My middle daughter, Jasmine, she used to say that all the time. My granddaughter used to call me from Newport News and say, Grandma, can you DoorDash me some McDonald's? And I said, yeah. And my daughter said, Mom, well, where was the McDonald's money at when we was growing up?
Right.
You know?
Why do y'all do that? Like, what is it? What is it? I need to know. Like, I need for you to really sit here and explain to me what the difference is. Like, how can y'all have a different love for the kids that y'all had, and the kids that came through, through your child?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I really don't know. But I think for me, everybody's always saying, Tracy, they tell me my grandkids favor me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They always telling me how they favor me, and they have eyes like mine. And I don't know what the difference is, but I will say this. There was things that went on in my life that my grandkids will never know about me, that my kids saw. And I thank God that they'll never know that part of my life. Mm-hmm. One day I will tell them about it.
That's right.
When they get older, because I don't want nobody else to tell them.
Right. That's right.
But I think that's a big part of why I am like that with my grandkids.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I mean, you put it out to
hey.
The best way you know how.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you had your kids. So you have your kids, and you're going through life. Like, so what happened in your life that you're sitting here today? Okay,
well, to go back a little bit, when I moved with my mother, like you said, things was different. Mm-hmm. My transition was different. Some of the things that I was able to see and be around, I didn't see that before.
Right.
When I got with my mother, nothing she did, nothing that my mother did. It was me. I was curious. So I started running away. I just started hanging out, running away, just being rebellious, and I don't know. I really can't even sit up here and tell you what it was that made me do that. I don't even have an answer for that because nobody did anything to me. Mm-hmm. You hear people saying, oh, well, I got molested, or they beat me, or they abused me. None of that happened to me. Mm-hmm. I was just curious. And that's why I tell people these days, you can be the best mother in the whole wide world. And if your kids decide they want to go a different way, they're going to go a different way. It has nothing to do with you. Yeah. So when you feeling like, what did I do wrong? don't do that. Don't second guess yourself, because sometimes it has nothing to do with the parents.
Right.
You know? But one day we went to school. I remember going to school and coming home, and it was a U-Haul pulled up to the door. Mm-hmm. And my mother had packed up, and she was moving us back to Suffolk. And I remember getting back to Suffolk. We came back to Suffolk, and I mean, I knew everybody there, but I didn't stop doing what I was doing. I was still running away. I was still being with boys or whatever.
And how old were you at this time?
At this time, I was 16.
Okay.
I remember running away one time and just not coming back, not going back. I went to live with my aunt. You know, my aunt took me in, and that's where I stayed at until I got grown and moved out. Okay. And in the midst of that, I was 18 when I did all that. When I turned 18, I got my first house, my first car, my first job, my first baby. Like, 18 was my first of everything, you know. And I remember being involved with a young man, you know, first love, you know. At least you think you in love. Yeah. I mean, but we was young, so I mean, you really don't know. But I remember being at home one day in the bathtub, and we used to smoke marijuana a lot. You know, we loved to smoke marijuana. And I remember him coming in, giving me a joint. Mm-hmm. And I remember smoking that joint. And I remember the feeling was like no other feeling.
So it was something you had never experienced before. You've been smoking weed for a while now.
And I had been smoking weed for a while. And to my knowledge, no weed had ever made me feel that way. Mm-hmm. You know? And even then, I wasn't told what I was smoking, that it was laced. You know? Oh, wow. And as time went on, you know, we continued to do it. I still didn't know. I wasn't going out getting it. You know, and to keep it honest, I liked it. I liked the way it made me feel. You know, it just took away a lot of stuff that I didn't want to feel, you know, because their relationship was abusive, you know. And I remember moving out of my house, moving to another house, and things got worse. And then I remember moving out of that house and moving to another house, and in the midst of that, he ended up getting killed. Oh, wow. You know. So now here I am, out here to fend for myself. I never went out.
One kid with him?
I had one.
Okay.
I never went out there and bought drugs before. I didn't know what to do, you know. But when you're in an addiction, you're gonna take a chance. So I went out and I was green, you know. I got my money was taken. People was giving me stuff that wasn't real. Like, I had all sorts of things happen to me because I didn't know no better. I was just learning, you know. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't understand. Like, you could not have told me that was going to change my life. Like, I never understood why somebody would give somebody something that somebody they're supposed to care about, something that would do that to them, right. You know.
So let me ask you. So at this point, when he was killed, and you started fending for yourself, you at this time you knew that it was something that it wasn't just weed.
Well, I found out later. I found out, you know, prior to that, you know, but I was told you're never to go and get this. You're never to do this with anybody else.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, and so that's what I did. So when I did get out there, and people would take my money or not bring it back, or you know, I said, forget that. They just go ahead and find out. You know, I ain't dealing with that. So I started going out buying my own stuff, and you know, but for me it was hard, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I was too busy hiding. Okay. I didn't want everybody to know what I was doing. You know, back then, I mean, even now, but people look down on people that got high.
Right.
You know, I can't let them know what I'm doing. I can't let my family know. I can't let my friends know. What they gonna think about me? That was my whole thought.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then it came a time where I didn't care anymore. Because that's what the addiction does to you.
Your addiction by this time.
I was deep into my addiction.
Right.
I never went around my family. You know, they'll tell you today, when I was doing it, I never went around them. I always went somewhere else.
Why?
But they,
why you do that?
I was ashamed. Because with addiction comes shame, guilt, embarrassment, all of that, you know. And I just didn't, you know, it was just hard. And with addiction, you know, once my family found out, it was more like they didn't understand addiction. I didn't even understand addiction. You know, why can't I stop? You know, why do I crave this? Why am I doing some of the things I'm doing? You know, I didn't understand myself. And what happened, I was working at Ames. I don't know if anybody remember the store Ames.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay. The sneaker store?
No, Ames was a store like Rosie's.
Oh, okay, the department store.
A department store. And I remember I stole a camera, and I got caught.
Oh, Lord.
I got caught.
You stole a camera from work and didn't get caught?
I did, and got caught. And I remember getting caught, and I remember going to jail.
Wow.
That was my first charge ever. And when I got in there, I remember telling myself I would never do this again.
Mm-hmm. How long were you in there?
My uncle came and got me out. He bought me out. And I remember saying, I would never do this again. But as soon as I got out, I was right back to it.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to jail. I can't even count the number of times I've been to jail.
So when you went to jail, what were you in jail for?
For, the first time, it was for petty larceny, for that. But I had went numerous of times, and it was always for violations, because I couldn't stop getting high. You know, the drug is more powerful. It was more powerful than I was. Right. You know, everybody was, you need to just stop. Don't do it. Just leave it alone. But it's not that easy. You know, and when you're doing drugs, you don't look at the fact that people are caring about you and they want you to stop. All you thinking about is, oh, they don't love me. They're against me. They in my business. Right. That's the drug telling you that. They're telling you that. It's, you know, that's not the truth. The truth is they love you and they want you to do better because they know your potential and they know you can do better. Right. You know.
I think the thing is too that is true. But that's like you say, they don't realize the stronghold that it has on people. And so when we're on the other end, as in the family and friends who are, you know, trying to love you out of this addiction, trying to, you know, almost like strong arm rob you out this, you know, addiction, it isn't working. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it had to be like a challenge for them too. And by this time, you still had just had one kid. Or you had two? By
that time, I only still had one.
Okay.
You know, this was back in like the late 80s.
Okay.
So now, getting into the early 90s, I ended up having a second daughter.
Okay. So now, when you had that one daughter, did you ever say, you know what, I'm going to do it for her, I'm going to go to rehab or anything like that?
I tried. I did. I went to rehab a few times, you know, but I didn't go for the right reason. I went for my daughter. I went for my mama. I just went for everybody but me. And you know, the people kept saying, if you're not here for you, then it's not going to work. But I felt like, okay, well, I'm going to try it anyway. Mm-hmm. You know, I even went to a place in Richmond, and I was there for 9 months. I had a graduation. My family came, you know, and it took me 2 weeks to go right back out, you know. And
so how did that make you feel when you spent 9 months?
Ashamed, embarrassed. I felt like I was nothing. Mm-hmm. I felt like that was going to be my life for the rest of my life. That I would never get it right.
Wow. So let's go back. So when your boyfriend at the time gave you something that has, basically changed your life forever, even down to now, right? Was there ever a time that you felt like resentment towards him, or you felt angry, you felt upset, or felt like, it was his fault?
I never felt the resentment or angry until he was gone, because I felt like I was alone now.
Okay.
I feel like now I'm left alone to fend for myself in this drug world that I really don't know a lot about, But this was somebody that I cared about and that I loved. So, I have no heart, but when you fast forward, I get to that part, but, in my addiction, since I've been clean, like, I've learned to forgive. Like, there was a lot of people that had to forgive me, and there was a lot of people that I forgave, So no, I don't hold no resentment, but like I said, I was really angry when he left, but other than that, no, I don't.
So you were more angry at him that the fact that he left you to fend for yourself versus him turning you on to something that you had no knowledge of?
No, right, because I am a grown person,
right.
And like I said, I didn't know a lot about it, but I didn't question it. I didn't say, well, why does this make me feel different, or why is this different from what we've been doing? Mm-hmm. I didn't question it, but no, I don't. And it was more so because he left me. Yeah.
Understood. Okay. So do you know about how many times you went to rehab?
I went to rehab like 3 times.
Okay.
But the 4th time, I ended up going to a program called the Guest House in Alexandria, Virginia.
Okay.
And it was a great program. It was a really great program. You go, you work, they save all of your money, and you stay. During that time, it was a 3-month program.
Okay.
And then you go back home. They tell you stay away from the people, the places, and the things. They tell you watch out for your triggers. And one of my triggers was money. Mm. And I went home with all this money, and I did good for a little while. But all it took was for me to see one person. One person. And I just wasn't strong enough to say, you know what, I don't want that.
Right.
They said, let's go. I went.
So, that's what I'm going to ask you. So, that person actually, when that person saw you, they knew you were going for 3 months. They knew, but they were in their addiction too, so they saw you and they want to link back up, like, hey, and y'all just went on, carry on, like.
And once they found out I had money, they was my best friend.
Oh, sure.
They were my best friend. But at the time, I didn't look at it like I'm looking at it now. I just feel like, okay, I got somebody with me. You know what I'm saying? And
we're gonna do what we do.
Here I am out there again, trying to hide. Don't want my family to know. Don't want nobody to know what I'm doing. It was the cycle. It just kept going. It just kept going. And I got in trouble again. I violated. And this time when I violated, the judge allowed me to go back to the guest house. He allowed me to go back.
So you would get slapped on the wrist, tapped.
Yeah.
Like God was still covering you.
Yep. But that addiction said, nope, not yet.
Right.
God was over here. It was like God was saying, I got you. I got you. But that other little voice was saying, and it just every time that other little voice won, and I hated that for me. I hated that for me because I know that God was powerful.
Right.
And I don't understand why I didn't listen to him. Instead, I still stayed over here. But I went back to the guest house again, and that second time, it was a lady there. Her name was Miss Cross. She was one of the ladies, the monitors that worked there. And I remember meeting her. And she was asking each and every one of us our name and where we were from. And when she got to me, she said, what's your name? I said, Tracey Holmes. She said, where you from? I said, Suffolk. She said, oh, Lord. Don't that good come out of Suffolk? She said,
wow.
She said, everybody come from Suffolk don't do good. And I told that lady, I said, I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to do good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do good. And I remember coming home. I still had money. I was able to go to work. You know, I was just determined. Just that coming from her, I couldn't allow. It's like I just couldn't allow. I couldn't allow her to say that and not do something about it. Like when she said that, it did something to my soul. You know, I said I can't allow that statement that she made to be true. I can't do that. So I came home. I went to work. I saved my money. And I remember my probation officer. She put me in a 28-day program, not because I was using, but because she wanted me to just be. She wanted me to be somewhere where I would do meetings and stuff like yeah. Because the guest house, we did meetings, but we didn't do it very many. Okay. And the guest house, they wasn't a drug program. It was a program where you go to get yourself together, get back on your feet. You know what I'm saying? It really wasn't a drug program. So I went to the 28-day program, and I did really good. I learned a lot. I did meetings. I did a lot of meetings, you know, and I did a lot of praying and asking God to please, you know, God, if you help me, I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And I remember once I came back, I never went back. Like, I was living with my aunt. I went to live with my aunt. And I went to work every day. I remember coming home every day, staying in. Because they tell you to stay away from the people, places, and things. Well, Suffolk ain't but so big. And there's so, like, my stomping grounds was Saratoga. Okay. You know, that's where I hung at. You know, I always hung in Saratoga. And, you know, I always would go over there and hang with the same people. You know, and I really thought these people was my friends. And maybe they were my friends, but we all were doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
They were your addiction friends.
They were my addiction friends. You know, and I was just determined when I came back this time, I was going to do what the people said do. I changed my people, place, and thing. It took me almost 2 years to go through Saratoga. Wow. I went all the way around. I was determined I won't going back.
So how many years have you been clean now?
It's almost 6.
Okay.
It's almost 6. Thank you. I remember, you know, people from my addiction, like, I don't want to have a conversation about drugs. You know, I no longer care who's getting high. I no longer care who's still out there. I no longer care what nobody else is doing. Right now, I'm focused on me and what I need to do for me. You know, if I see somebody, I'm going to speak because I'll never forget where I came from. You know, I'll never forget. There were times where people looked out for me when I was out there, you know, and I'll never forget that. But that wasn't the, it just wasn't, it's just something that I just choose not to ever do again. I have a lot of new friends that I share my story with. You know, for some reason I have a thing about, I don't like, because when I first came home, I used to hear, oh, this one said, oh, you're going to be right back out there, or this one said, you're going to be right back out there. I never entertained it. You know what I used to tell them? Please don't come to me with that.
That's right. That's right.
Please don't come to me with that. Because while they was telling you she gonna be right back out there, what were you saying? What made them comfortable enough to even come to you to ask you or say anything to you?
My co-giver say that all the time. She said, "What make people comfortable to say certain things to certain people?"
Yeah, like what made them that comfortable to say to you that, oh, she gonna be back out there. She ain't gonna last long. Right. You know what I'm saying? And in the beginning, I had a thing about proving things to everybody, you know. And then right through it, like halfway through me being clean, I said, I ain't got to prove nothing to these people. You know what I'm saying? The only one I need to prove it to is me. That's it. You know, me and my kids are good. You know, me and my grandkids are good. Me and my family are good. I have a family that supports me 100%. The same people that I thought was against me, the same people that I thought didn't care about me, when I came home and they saw, they saw my actions. I ain't had to tell them nothing. Everything that I did or had going on, they was right there 100%, and I think they understand addiction a little bit better now. Right. They understand it a little bit better. Because every day when I walk out my door, it's still a struggle. Because I know people that done went to jail for 10 and 15 years and they come right back and they still go back to doing it. So I can sit up here and say all day, I'm not going to do it. But I don't want to do it. I don't want to live that life again.
You have the desire.
I don't have the desire. I don't have the desire to. I don't want nothing to do with that life. And I've seen people get clean after me being clean, and that just does something to my heart. Because it is beautiful. To all the things that the devil took away from me, that helped me lose, like I got it all back in a matter of 3 years.
Look at God.
You know what I'm saying? I got it all back in a matter of 3 years, and he's still blessing me right now.
So how does that make you feel? Me just listening to you, like, it gives me chill bumps. So I can't imagine how you feel. Coming up on 6 years now. So express to me how you feel. Coming from where you've come from and some of the things that
the main thing is I'm so grateful. Like I am so grateful. Like God, I know it won't nobody but him, because there was a lot of times that I could have been dead. Somebody could have found me in a ditch. You know what I'm saying? I'm just so grateful, and it just warms my heart when I'm looking in the mirror at myself and I'm like, you did it. Like, you really did it. Because like I voiced to you before, I really thought that was my life. Like, nothing different was going to ever happen for me. I was going to do drugs all my life. All my life. Like, I wasn't going to do anything different but walk them streets and smoke those drugs and have my kids not know where I am, and have my family not know where I am. That's what I thought my life was going to be. But God said, no, that's not who you are. That's not who I'm going to allow you to be. And I thank God every day. Even if I don't ever say nothing but, Lord, thank you, Lord. I thank him every day. Because when he changed my life, like, he not only just changed my life, like, I didn't just change by getting a job, not doing the drugs. Like, when you in an addiction, you can't just change the outer. You got to change the inner appearance. Right. You got to change your attitude. You got to change all that. You can't just change the outer appearance, because if you got that nasty stuff still down in you, then it's going to rise again. And I was always a polite person. I always had manners, because that's what my grandmother instilled in me. That's what my mother instilled in me. Even in my addiction, I never lost it. I never lost it, because that's what was instilled in me. I had people that tell me while we were sitting right there getting high, I like you. You different. Right. And I was like, I'm different. But I understand now. Right. You know what I'm saying? People trusted me. Like, we in our full-blown addiction, and people would trust me with their money or trust me to be in their home. It was just, but back then when they said it mattered. It made a difference. I was like, oh, that's all, But I mean, I'm just grateful. I'm just overwhelmed. Like, every time something new happens in my life, like, I get excited about stuff all the time, because I just love the fact that, I'm not that person anymore. I have a roof over my head. I have my kids. We have great communication. We have great relationship. My grandkids love me. When I think about all that, I can't do nothing but tell God thank you, because he did. And then, not only that, my significant other, his family, I could they saw me go through it too. You know what I'm saying?
So when you got with him, you were in your addiction.
We both were.
Oh wow!
And this is the part. This is the part that excites me also. We got clean at the same time.
Oh my gracious!
We got clean at the same time. Like we knew that we wanted to be together. That because you see people where one is in their addiction and one is not. It doesn't work because the person that's in the addiction is constantly taking. They're constantly taking. They're giving, they're taking. They're not bringing anything to the table. So when we got together, we were in our addiction, but we got clean at the same time. And that was so, it was beautiful. Like, we found a house, we moved in our house, we started fixing up our house. We had no vehicles. Now, he has 2 trucks and a car. I have a car. You know what I'm saying? When my grandkids call me and say I can give it to them. If my sister, nieces, nephews, whoever call me and say, can you go? Yep, I can go there. I can do this for you. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't do none of that at first.
Right.
I felt like my nieces and my nephews were going to be ashamed of me. You know what I'm saying? I used to think they was ashamed of me. But that all proved to be wrong because when I got clean, like they showed me the love.
Right,
you know, right. It's wonderful. I don't ever want to live that life again, but if I could feel that, if like the love that they put on me when I got clean, that was the best feeling in the world. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because my kids, it was bad for them. It was bad for them. They saw me through my whole addiction. My oldest daughter, she saw it all. You know, she saw it all, but if you saw us together right now, you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell.
What's going on.
Yeah, you couldn't tell.
It's just like I'm listening to you. It's like, and I really have no words. It's just like because I'm so happy for you, and I can, even though I wasn't there, you know, I didn't know, you know what I'm saying, you know, none of that. But you never know what people have been through until they open their mouth up and tell their story. And the good thing is, the grateful thing is that you can sit here today and express all the things, well, some of the things that you have experienced, and it's so heavy to where I can feel it. I'm literally sitting here and I can feel it. And if it feels good to me, I know it has to be overwhelming.
You have no idea. You have no idea how I mean, it does. It feels great. Like sometimes I have to like say wow. Like I have to say wow. You know, because sometimes when I go out, I see people that was out there before I even went out there. Before I got into my addiction. They're still out there. You know what I'm saying? And I just say, I just, my heart it just touches my heart because like I said, I thought I was going to be one of those people that was going to be out there forever. You know? And I never, I just never imagined me getting it right.
What would you say to a younger you?
To a younger me?
If you could say something to a younger you, what would it be?
I would say that I don't have to live like that. That's not the life that was intended for me. You know, I would know that the people that was trying to help me cared about me and that they love me and they just want the best for me, that they're not out to get me. They don't want to hurt me. And I would just do it all. If I tell myself all the time, if I could do it all over again, I would do it a different way. But at the same time, my addiction, it made me a better person. I always felt like I was a good person. You know, even in my addiction, I always felt like I was a good person. But I feel like I'm an even better person now because, you know, I'll do anything that I can for anybody, you know, and I've had people that come to me that was in their addiction. You know, even if they didn't listen to me, if they came to me and they was like, I don't know what to do, I would talk to them, you know, and I might see them the next day and they're right back out there. But at least I felt like I did my part.
Right.
You know,
right. So let me ask you this before, I'm going to cut you off, but let me ask you this before. Let's go back to when you said that you saw some people out there and they were in their addiction, that they may have been out there doing the same time you were. Do you look down upon them, or do you know, like when you see them, what is your first reaction to them?
Sometimes I get tears in my eyes. I would never, ever, never look down on anybody in addiction. I'm not going to look down on anybody, but especially a person that's in their addiction, because I know what they're doing, what they're going through. They're suffering. Like, it's hard being out there in addiction. You are suffering, and you got people that they'll tell you, "Oh, I'm good, I'm okay, I'm doing just fine," because you got a job, because you might got a car.
So they're functioning addicts.
And they're the worst kind of addicts.
Yeah.
You know why? Because now you got to try to go to work, come home, get high, be up all night long. Now you got to struggle to get up the next morning to go to work. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, it all comes to a head. And the reason why I say that, because you start robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know, when I just put half of my money on the light bill, or I'll just put half of the money on the rent, and I'll make sure I pay them the next time I get paid. But the next time you get paid, you already owe the dope man.
Right.
So what you gonna pay? How you gonna get a man the rent money? And 9 times out of 10, you gonna get that dope man his money, because you might need some more.
Oh yeah, you need some more, and then you don't.
2 reasons, because you might need some more, and you don't know what he might do to you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so a functioning addict that's not good. You know, I was always told by my counselor that functioning addict is even worse, because they try to juggle too many things at one time. You know, and people like use the fact that, oh, I got a house, or I got a car, that they're not struggling. Yes, they are. If you are an addict and you are in your addiction, you are struggling, and and only you might know it. The people around you might not know it, but you're struggling,
right?
Because it's not normal. You know, I didn't wake up one morning and say, "Oh, I guess you know what? I think I want to be a drug addict." I didn't wake up and say that. I always had a dream of being a nurse. Growing up, I wanted to be a nurse. You know, and my life it just twisted around, and I went a whole different direction, you know. But if I knew now, back then, what I know now, it'd have been totally different. You know, it'd have been totally different. And I can remember seeing people that were doing the drug before I did. And I would be like, oh, I would never do that. I don't never want to look like that. I don't never want to be like them. And that's why they say never say never. Because I end up being the same person that I didn't want to be.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. So, you and your significant other, you guys are clean now, going on 6 years. So, do you guys kind of feed off of each other, like far as in a positive way? You know.
I mean, when it comes to this, you know, we really don't talk about it. To be honest. You know, we both know what we need to do to stay clean. You know, we both know that if we go back out there because of the level of our addiction, that we may not come back. You know, we may not make it back. You know, a drug is a drug is a drug. That means I don't care what kind of drug you're doing. It's an addiction. I never did heroin. I never did meth. I never did any of those. I was a cocaine user, and I smoked crack. But that made me no different than the person that did heroin and the person that did meth. You know, you got people that say, oh, well, I don't do that one. Right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a drug, and it disrupts your life. Like, it takes away from you. It doesn't help you gain anything. It takes away everything. It takes away you lose your self-esteem. You lose everything. Like, I had no self-esteem. I thought I was the ugliest person in the world. You know, I thought I was the worst person in the world. you know, and it took me to get clean, you know, with a little bit of counseling. It let me know I'm not ugly, you know what I'm saying? I'm just just as good as anybody else. You know what I'm saying? I can have anything that anybody else can have. I can do what anybody else can do. You know? So it makes you feel that way. It makes you feel so low that, I mean, you just be so low. And when you feel those feelings, it just makes you want to keep going and keep getting high and keep getting high and keep getting high. Because you don't want to feel the reality. You know, you don't want to feel reality because of the things, you know, being in abusive relationships, stuff like that. You know, all the self-esteem, the self-worth, all that just go out the window. You don't have any of that. But when you're doing the drugs, it makes you not think about that.
So it kind of like coach you, not coach. It kind of like keeps you from feeling what reality is.
It does.
For the moment.
It does. And when I got clean, I had to feel all that. I had to feel it all. And, you know, how am I going to make it through this? How am I going to get through this? You know, I had to just keep telling myself, it's going to be okay. I had a lot of people in my corner. You know, I had people to tell me, you know, that I'm deserving of having a good life. I'm deserving of having the things that I want to have. You know, I don't have to live like that. You know,
it's something that you have to.
And I had to keep telling myself, you know, and now, you know, I do a lot of times, like, I don't think about doing drugs anymore. But there are times when I get mad about something or I get angry. And for an instant, it pops in my head. But I do what they call playing that tape back. What I do is I think about a time where I was out there doing the drugs and I ran out of money. People, when you run out of money, they put you out the house. You can't be here. You ain't got no money. You ain't no need to sit here. You out of money.
Right.
You know, those are the things that make you say, "Oh no, I can't go back." You know what I'm saying? You work a whole week and you get paid, and then you sit there and you spend all your money with these people, and then they tell you got to go.
So let's go back to what you just said about abusive. So were you ever in an abusive relationship?
I was. Matter of fact, I was in 3 abusive relationships.
Wow.
I was in 3. You know, one thing I learned, when you meet somebody, you don't tell them what another person did to you, because they feed off of it. Because I'm thinking that you're gonna treat me better, and you're not gonna treat me the way that person did, and they ended up treating you worse. You know, and for some reason that's the way it turns out. So, you know, you have to make a person think that you just don't tell them anything. You don't tell them anything about it. You know, but I was in 3 abusive relationships, and I was in my addiction in all of them.
So you were in your addiction for about how long?
I started my addiction when I was 18.
And to what age? On and off until what age?
On and off until I was 6 years ago. I'm 57, so 51.
Wow.
On and off, because I would get clean, I would go back. I would get clean, I would go back. You know, and each time I got clean, it wasn't for me. I wasn't ready.
Right.
You know, I knew I wasn't ready, because it was either because I went to jail or something dealing with.
How long were you in jail? Like, what's the longest?
I've done 2 prison sentences. I went to prison. One time 2 years, both times 2 years, and each time I was at a work camp though.
Okay.
I was never at like, I always went to a work camp because my charges was like low level. You know what I'm saying? I did stupid stuff. You know, most of my crimes were monetary, like something dealing with money. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And I used to always tell my probation officer, you know, if I wasn't on these drugs, I wouldn't go to jail because I wouldn't need the money. You know what I'm saying? And it was always behind money, because I wanted to do the drugs. And I finally, after 20-some years, came off of papers last year before last, I'm sorry. after 20-some years of being on papers. Because every time I come off, I go back up there. Every time I come off, I go back up there. And I finally came off. That was the worst, too, because...
That was a milestone, yeah.
That was the worst. It was a milestone. But, you know, you have somebody else running your life. Like, you got to ask these people permission to do everything. You couldn't do it. You a grown person, and you got to have somebody else to tell you what you can do and what you can't do.
But at that same time, did you ever feel like, yeah, that's what, you know, yeah, I'm an adult, but, you know, I broke the law, so, I mean, even if it's something as small as spitting, you know what I'm saying, and I got to go listen to what they got to say, I got to do what they got to say. So at any time, would you take accountability for what you do?
I always take accountability. Okay. One thing about me, when I meet people that don't know me, I don't, like, just throw myself out there to them, but once I've known this person for a while, like, I share my story with people. You know, I want them to know who they're dealing with, to give them the option of whether they want to be my friend or not. Okay. You know what I'm saying? That's just something that I do, because you have people out here that, you know, they really feel like addiction is just something that people want to do. They don't understand the sickness. Like, addiction is a sickness, and they don't understand that. But I always take accountability for everything that I've done. Like, it was no one's fault. No one made me do it. It was me. And I always, then and now, take accountability for my actions. You know, because like I was telling y'all before, you know, about the secrets. Secrets keep you sick. Like, I can sit here and tell y'all part of my story, but the part that I'm trying to hold back may be the part that somebody needs to hear. You know what I'm saying? And the best way to keep something is to give it away. Like, anything that's dealing with my addiction, I don't mind putting it out there. My life is an open book. I have nothing to hide when it comes to my addiction, because how can I help somebody else if I'm going to hide what I'm doing? Like, you know, the part I'm hiding, like I said, may be the part that they need to hear from me. So I do hold myself accountable for everything I've done.
That's good. Now, what if somebody, just taking context, the same thing what you said about when you befriend somebody and you basically lay all your cards on the table. Like, hey, this is me. You can choose if you want to deal with me or not. If not, okay, cool, bye. I'll let you later. What if somebody on the opposite end came to you and they didn't tell you about themselves, but you learned over time that they are out, you know what I'm saying, getting high in the street? Like, how would you handle that situation?
Only thing I would ask is that don't be around me. Like, if you want to do it, I can't stop you, because like I said, if they're not ready to stop, they're not going to stop. But don't bring it to me. Like, don't bring it around me. Don't, I mean, I would try to talk to them, you know, and see if, like, do you want to stop? Are you ready to stop? You know, and even me, I used to say, yeah, I want to stop, but I won't ready. I would tell you anything just for you to leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Yeah, I want to stop. I'm going to stop. One thing you'll know, my oldest sister tell me all the time, one thing about you don't mind, you honest about, yeah, I am. Because those are the things that kept me bound. Those are the things that held me hostage. Like, all of this stuff that I just sat here and told y'all, it kept me bound. It held me hostage. Like, it kept me from being the person that I am now. You know, when I was ashamed and scared to talk to somebody, I probably could have been clean. I probably could have been clean a long time ago, but I was too ashamed to go to anybody because people are so judgmental, you know. And that is the worst thing, for somebody to come to you and say, you know, I'm in a bad place right now. I'm in a dark place and I need some help. And then they said somebody,
takes a lot.
It takes a lot. And for somebody to say, girl, go ahead. All you got to do is stop doing. No, it's not that simple. Because I've had that happen to me before. You know, girl, leave that stuff alone. You ain't got to be doing that stuff. That ain't how you was raised. Your mama didn't teach you that. You know, I heard it so much. No, my mama didn't teach me that. And I was not raised like that. You know, but I'm sick. I have a addiction that I'm sick. And it's going to take more than you telling me leave it alone to help me.
Right, right.
You know?
So what is something that is a myth about Miss Tracy that people may think that that's you, or something, you know, one of the characteristics that you may possess, but that's far from you?
Well, I could say at one point, one myth would have been, oh, she gonna be right back out there again. Mm-hmm. She ain't doing that. She fooling y'all, which is, I mean, I'm still going. Like, I mean, if you still sitting there waiting, you might want to let your breath go, cause, or you're gonna die out there, cause it's not gonna happen. You know, I really can't think of a myth. You know, I really can't.
Let me ask you this then: what is it that you want somebody to know about Miss Tracy, or what is Miss Tracy's legacy going to be?
I would say the person that went through a struggle that a lot of people don't be. A lot of people don't come out of addiction. Mm-hmm. They either go to jail for a long time, and even those people come home and go back. Mm-hmm. But some people, they end up passing away, you know, or they end up, I mean, I know people that was in addiction, they lost their mind. Mm-hmm. I work with them every day. Those are the type of people I work with. Mm. You know, and sometimes when I look at them, that's another thank God moment.
Right.
You know, because that could have been me. That person that lost their mind behind either taking the wrong drug, or somebody giving them a wrong drug, or somebody putting in there something in their drink. It could have been me. Mm-hmm. You know, so that, I mean, I that's something that I think about all the time. I do think about the what ifs. Mm-hmm. You know, I do. I think about, well, you know, what if that would have happened to you? You know, that could have been you. So that's another thing under my belt that makes me say, no more.
No more, right.
No more.
If you had opportunity to say something to somebody that you may have wronged or hurt or maybe have rubbed the wrong way during your addiction, what would you say to that person?
So I have made amends to some people, mm-hmm. and my words to them was, you know, that I'm sorry, I apologize. You know, I was sick. You know, I was in my addiction, and you know, most of the people that I did wrong, you know, they knew me before the addiction, and they knew that wasn't me. Mm-hmm. You know, so they know that if I wasn't in my addiction, the things that I did would have never happened. Right. You know, that, you know, I mean, I can't change it. I can't go back and change it, because if I could, I would. You know, but it's nothing that I can do, and that I hope that they find it in their heart to forgive me.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Well, I have enjoyed our conversation. I could sit and talk to you all day long about it, because it kind of resonates with me a little bit, like far as, you know, my family and stuff like that. So, but I just want to let you know that I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm eager to see what God has in store for you. And I think by you continue to share your story, you're not only going to, you know, continue to heal, but you're going to set free somebody else too. You know, and just by looking at you, like we tell people all the time when they come up here, you're another one. You don't look like what you've been through. And thank God for that. Because,
thank God
you know,
for that.
Like you said, what if? You know, so, and I just encourage you to keep, you know, keep up the good fight. You know, stay connected, you know, and just continue to soar as only, you know, you can do. Because what God has for you is definitely for you.
Thank you.
So that being said, stay tuned to all things Wait A Gam Minute. Good night.